Juror number 2 is a new movie starring Nicholas Hoult. Stars Toni Collette, Kiefer Sutherland, Zoe Deutsch is in this movie. I believe someone else whose name is kind of... J.K. Simmons is in this movie. This is a really kind of like throwback movie. Like, it felt like a 90s type of movie in that... And it's directed by Clint Eastwood. This was supposed to be possibly his last film. I've heard about this movie for a long time. I think it's being rebranded as a Max original. But what's very interesting to me is this movie was out since November 2nd. And it just started streaming December 20th. So it didn't really seem like it was a Max original. It was only playing at a select amount of theaters. It was playing near me for a little bit, but then it was only playing at Union Square in the city, which is oddly where they choose to show like movies that aren't in wide release. That movie Better Man is currently only playing there and at an AMC, and that movie's going to go into wide release in January. I'm very excited for that movie. But Juror number 2, it just seems like there was never an audience for this movie, and that Warner Brothers did not think this movie, understandably, would be such a huge movie. I mean, they chose to release it only in like 50 theaters. You can look that up somewhere. Usually, movies play in like 4,000 theaters, but this was not playing in that many theaters. And it's kind of interesting when you think about it, because no one really had faith in this movie. And it's about a juror who is selected to go on jury duty. He's played by Nicholas Hoult, kind of an everyman guy. He's had a dark past, but he's moved through that where he was drinking a lot. And he realizes that the case that he's involved in, he has a connection to. And I kind of have to get into a little bit of spoiler territory in order to really talk about that. He finds out that the case involves a man who's being accused of murdering his girlfriend, pushing her off a bridge. But he discovers that the night that happened was the same night he went out in a rainstorm. He left a bar. He was at the bar. He contemplated drinking because he's getting over his, addiction to alcohol, but he didn't drink. But still, he was driving home in the rain. He thought he hit a deer. And he's now thinking, did I hit a person? It might be this person. And he's debating, should he, come forth with it and go to prison himself? Or, should an innocent man be accused of a crime he did? And it's a really great moral, confliction. And the story is great there. And it's still like this really interesting movie because even though you're thinking, is he going to turn himself in? Is he going to let the guy, be accused? But there's all these moral discussions. He's in the jury. He's trying to convince the jurors just to get this guy off. And I think that it's such an old-fashioned type of movie. By old-fashioned, I mean, nowadays, I feel like the big Hollywood movies aren't these courtroom thrillers. The last big 2 courtroom blockbusters we had were Oppenheimer and Joker 2. And Joker 2 was a massive failure. And Oppenheimer was a really big success. So honestly, it depends on your movie, like how successful it will be. It depends on if you're going to make the movie really good. And I think that Juror number 2 succeeds because it's not like Oppenheimer and it's not like Joker 2. Oppenheimer is this big, like old-fashioned courtroom movie like, The Aviator or Amistad, where it's this big, movie by a big director. That's Scorsese and Spielberg. But there are these, large-scale epic movies with big finales set in courtrooms, really. But Juror number 2 is just a courtroom thriller where you're focused on, all the dynamics of, is this, it's just kind of suspenseful. You're wondering, you kind of know he did it, but you're wondering what's going to happen next. I feel like there's so many TV shows out there now and court shows, Law & Order. There's just so many crime shows that it's really hard to feel like Juror number 2 is a movie to invest your time in. It's going to be really good. I think that's the reason a lot of people, or Warner Brothers themselves, didn't market this, and a lot of people didn't see it, because they were thinking no one, maybe except like older audiences, are going to flock to a movie just to watch a court trial. No one saw Joker 2 partially for that reason, because it wasn't about Joker. It was a courtroom movie. The only draw to that movie was it was Joker, and it didn't even deliver on that. People don't really want to see a courtroom thriller. There's so much stuff out there. If your movie isn't great, you're just going to lose your audience to your phone, and they're going to watch TikTok, where you can just have a 15-second funny video. But I think it's really hard to sell a movie like this. And I think Juror number 2, it's not an amazing movie, by any means. It's just a really sturdy throwback thriller. And that's all I really needed and wanted for this movie. It has, a great cast. It's very functional and effective. I talk about that a lot. Is this movie serving, are these characters serving the story? Are they adding anything else? Are they just characters who are there to serve the story? Or do they have their own depth? And they do. This movie has characters who are there to serve the story, but you get their backgrounds. You get a lot about them, what they care about, their motivations. They feel really lived in. And because this movie even takes place nowadays, I kind of like that because it clearly does take place now. They talk about true crime podcasts. They're on their iPhones, but it feels very much like a movie that could also take place in the 90s. It feels like a script that could have been written 20, 25 years ago. Like that movie, The Little Things, that John Lee Hancock movie, which was set in the 90s, but they released it in 2021 and it still worked. That's how I feel about this movie. It's a very solid movie, very entertaining, and very much a 90s throwback movie where the plot isn't terribly complex, but you still have a great moral story. You have everything you need for a good movie. Great actors, a great hook, you have suspense, you have drama, you have emotion, you have these characters you care about. You don't want the man to go to jail if he's innocent, and you don't want our hero to go to jail because he's trying to move on. He's not a bad person at heart, but he did some bad things. And it's just a great complex tale. I think basically it's a very enjoyable movie. I didn't think it was amazing, but for what I, want when I go to a movie, especially for this to be a Max original now that you can watch at home, it's very good to be a movie like that. I did want to see this in the theaters so many times, but I just never ended up going because it was always playing in just one theater. And I really do wish I saw this in the theaters. But it is honestly totally appropriate to be a Max original. It's one of those movies you could just watch at home and it's entertaining. It's a really solid, fun movie. Not really fun, but it gets the job done. It's entertaining. And when you watch a movie, you want to be entertained. So guys, let me know what you think of Juror number 2. I really do hope Clint Eastwood keeps making these movies. He makes these movies that are not, terribly complex. His movies have a very simple filmmaking style, but that's all you really need. And I really, really do love movies like this. I like this simple kind of old-fashioned way of filmmaking. It feels very American, like a very American story. So let me know what you guys think. Really do, I like Juror number 2. I always thought the title was kind of funny too. It's like Juror number 2. Like they couldn't have made it any other number. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.